I'm back and I'm bringing you guys the player ratings video after a 1-0 win against Newcastle. Now, for you guys that don't know how I format these videos, I give the players a rating from 1 to 10. Of course, explain my reasons as to why. I'm going to tell you guys straight, Ross Barkley and Reece will both get scores of NA. Now, the reason for that is they both didn't play enough minutes. For Reece, he came on right at the end, and for Ross, he was injured at the start of the game, meaning that his performance was naturally going to be affected. So I like to keep things fair, and that's the situation. But of course, you guys, before I get into things, if you do like today's video, do not forget to smash that like button. Help me get more than 1,500 likes for today's video. Now, to begin things, we start with Kepa in goal. With Kepa, the guy wasn't tested too much in goal. I thought that when it came to defending set pieces, he was okay. I like to see him a bit more authoritarian, but also understand it's not like he's called to own goal. He's not 6'7". He's not this huge beast of a guy. He's not going to win every single thing. But regardless though, he wasn't really caught up on too much. For that reason, he is going to get a 6 out of 10. We move on to Azpilicueta, and with Azpilicueta, you know what? We know what a typical Azpi performance is. Today, he didn't really light up the world. He did what he had to do. He plays for the team. On one aspect, I like that he was thinking about how to help us improve with our possession in midfield. A lot of times he was moving more in field to become that passing option for a Jorginho. But other than that, there's not too much to really talk about. For that reason, Azpi is going to get a score of 6 out of 10. Now, we turn our attentions to Kurt Zouma. And for me, Kurt Zouma was our best defender in today's game. We saw all things good from Kurt Zouma. We saw his ability to leave his defensive line to close down on a opposition player. You know, if you compare it to how David Luiz used to be back in the day, it was always quite, I wouldn't say 50-50, that's not accurate, but there was always the possibility that Luiz could get beat if the opposition player was smart enough. But with Kurt Zouma and the way that he closes down opposition players, most times he's winning that ball cleanly and helping us start another attack. I liked his passing out from the back today. I thought that he looked very confident, very comfortable, moved it very quickly, and a few times we saw a few David Luiz style passes out from deep. But the one thing that impressed me the most from Zouma today was how he was covering his teammates. He covered Tamori a few times. I thought he was strong in helping Azpi defend on the right hand side as well. And when I look at Kurt now, he looks very confident. And there's a reason why Lampard got rid of Luiz in the first place. It wasn't for Tamori, it was for Kurt Zouma. And as I've said, Zouma and Tamori have looked very good together. For that reason, I'm going to score Kurt a 7 out of 10. Now, we move on to young Tamori himself. I mean, Tamori, his performance was okay. Of course, he made a few mistakes, and we have to be honest, it's not as if these are the first times he's making these mistakes. I think for some of the mistakes sometimes, a lot of it comes down to us being tactically exploited. I think that because we're not really a possession style team, if we can't make passes out to our fullbacks, it means that our defenders don't really have any passing options. You know, having Jorginho by himself isn't enough at times, but there needs to be other solutions to help combat that. But regardless though, you know, I'm not going to hold this performance against Tamori. It's not the first time he's done it, but he's still young. And I think what he needs more is just experience. With more experience playing at this level, a lot of these mistakes that come during situational moments are definitely going to improve and get better. For that reason, I'm going to score Tamori a 6 out of 10. And to complete the back four, and yeah, I've spent a bit of time in the back four because there was a lot to talk about from them today, we end with Marcos Alonso. Now I'm going to tell you guys straight, Alonso is going to get a score boost because of the goal he scored at the end. But I'm sorry, he wasn't good enough. I thought that he regularly lost possession in the final third. His link-up player down the left-hand side with Hudson, Odoi and Mount wasn't there. And the guy just looked so lethargic. It was ridiculous. He was too slow. I know he's got zero acceleration, but it felt like he was mentally slow. He wasn't really in tune with the game. Could it be that maybe he's carrying a knock? Or he wasn't feeling as confident? I'm not too sure. When you ask Alonso to play in such an offensive role like this, it's not really his game. I think he's best when he's playing a supportive role. But of course, Alonso's Alonso. He'll find himself in the box any way possible. Thank God Callum was there to assist him. And this guy got us the 3 points in the end. But I'm sorry, the goal is not going to dismiss his overall game. For that reason, Alonso is going to score a 5.5 out of 10. However, before I continue on with things, today's video is brought to you by the OneFootball app. If you guys want to help me out and also help yourselves out as well, you'll find a link in the description below. We continue on with the midfield, starting with Jorginho. I thought that Jorginho had the easiest game, and that's because Newcastle at no point attempted to press the player. They never did, and this meant that Jorginho had all the time and space to play any pass he wanted, and in today's game he really did play some exceptional passes, some really good ones. But when I look at the player, I still think that maybe he preferred to be playing in a more possession orientated team. When I look at him play, he's constantly finger pointing, you defenders, push up, why are you back there? You're gonna slow the play down. You're too far away, come close to me. And at times it feels like Jorginho can be a bit isolated in the middle. Regardless though, he would look very positive, and whenever players were able to get between the lines, Jorginho was regularly finding them. It was an easy performance today, but Jorginho was class. For that reason, he is going to score a 7.5 out of 10. Now, we move on to Cover, and when Cover came on, he literally got straight into the flow of the game. One thing about Cover is that he's quite tough in the tackle. He doesn't get too much credit for that. I like how he helped Jorginho. He became that passing option, and when Cover came on, it felt like we were playing with 11 players again instead of 10. What I love about Cover is just how elegant he plays with the ball, and I love when he's able to go on one of his runs. So classy, so elegant, good for the squad. For that reason, he is going to score a 7 out of 10. Now we move on to the attack, starting down the left-hand side with Callum Hudson-Odoi. Who else was going to get that assist in today's game? He looked the only player threatening to produce a moment like this in today's game. And when you see him play, it's effortless. It's too effortless with Callum Hudson-Odoi. Throughout the game today, I was a bit surprised why Newcastle didn't target him enough. He was barely fouled in today's game, and I'm thinking if you're Newcastle, you want to get tough with the player. It worked in our favour, and they couldn't get close to him whatsoever. He was able to bomb down the flanks if he wanted to. When the option was open, he'd be cutting inside as well. He plays with his head up constantly. His switch balls are so accurate, constantly finding Willian. And I love how he plays people in behind as well. The guy can do everything. He's not just a skill guy with pace, he's a football player. For that reason, Hudson-Odoi is going to score an 8 out of 10. Now, we move on to Mason Mount. And I sympathise for Mason Mount. Now, if you look at how Newcastle played tactically, they really packed it in the middle, meaning that it's very hard for players to play in those central areas when passing options and channels are being blocked left, right and centre. Another reason why we need to sympathise with Mason is because Barkley was injured quite early in today's game, and Mason had to really play for the team. A lot of times he was switching with Barkley, moving more in midfield, and I think that his game was kind of sacrificed due to that. But when Cover came on, Mason was able to play in the final third. We could see the runs in behind. And of course, his combinational play with Hudson-Odoi was really important. You felt like if Mason wasn't playing, Alonso was never going to combine well enough with Hudson to let him do anything. So for that reason, I'm going to score Mason Mount a 6.5 out of 10. And we move on to Willian, and Willian is a man transformed. Today he looks impressive, his tenacity, and I love how he's accepted the role that he's the older player. I love how he's constantly looking to find Hudson-Odoi. How many times was he going on his runs from deep, from left to right, play Hudson-Odoi at the end? That's what you want to see. You want an experienced player that's really going to wrap his arms around the young guys and be there for them, and that's what Willian's doing for the team right now. I'll be honest, his attitude has really surprised me. From what I was seeing from last season, I did not think we'd get this type of Willian back. But with Willian now, he's really playing some of his best football for a long time right now, and I hope it continues even more. For that reason, Willian is going to score a 7 out of 10. Now, to end with the first team, we move on to Tammy Abraham himself, and Tammy today showed that yes, he is worthy of playing for this club. He has the attitude, the application, and the skill as well. At times, it was like seeing a young Didier in the making. Whenever he was getting balls in the air, it felt like I was seeing a young, skinnier Didier Drogba. Of course, though, one aspect in which Tammy is most definitely going to get better in is his aerial play. At times, I've commented about this for a while now, when it comes to defending set pieces, he has got better, but he's still not strong enough for me compared to guys like Diego Costa, guys like Frank Lampard, and guys like Didier Drogba back in the day. But of course, I mean, look at the guys I'm talking about. If I can even compare Tammy Abraham to guys on this stature, then it really tells you how much world-class potential Tammy has. Regardless though, yeah, he never got the goal. I mean, he would have if Pulisic played that pass earlier, and if Tammy had scored that, then he'd probably get a higher rating. He was good though, even though he never scored, but of course, because that goal never came, I can't give him a high rating. For that reason, Tammy is going to score. Now, to end with the team, we move on to Christian Pulisic. He came on with maybe 10-15 minutes left, and of course, we have to sympathise. You know, when you come on as a sub, you need to get a feel for the game. That takes a while. And I have to say that when Pulisic came on, he looked like he was ready to go. One thing about Christian is that his movement in behind is very good, and it was interesting to see that Lampard replaced Mason Mount with Christian Pulisic. Could that mean that we'll see Pulisic playing as a cam more often? Who knows? And that could complement his ability to constantly move in behind. Still though, and I have to keep things fair, 2 moments I spoke about in the match review. And for me, those 2 moments where he never played that pass quick enough to Tammy and not scoring the goal as well. I get it, he only had about 10-15 minutes, but still, you need to make those moments matter. For that reason, I'm going to score Pulisic a 6 out of 10. Now, to end things, we move on to Super Frank himself. And as I keep stressing every single time, Lampard is a serious manager. You know, I saw a lot of interesting things in today's game. It felt like we were consciously not looking to play crosses in the box. And when you deepen for a second, that makes a ton of sense. You know, if you keep putting crosses in the box, you're going to give free counter-attacks to Newcastle players. And we saw with the pace of Almiron and St. Maximin, these guys could cause us issues if that happened. And that was Newcastle's only threat. So what Lampard did to make sure that they had no consistent wide presence was to make sure that we weren't constantly crossing the ball, and that worked in our favour because it meant that we were constantly passing from left to right, and it was no surprise that in the final 15-10 minutes, Newcastle looked very tired. And when Newcastle were tired, was it any surprise that Lampard made late substitutions in today's game? Of course not, because Lampard understood that to win this game today, we needed to be patient. And this was really a great test for Lampard and his abilities. If he wasn't that good, I think that worse managers would have looked to have rushed the game and made really hasty substitutions to try and make things happen. But Lampard understood that the way we were playing was going to win us the game in the end. It did. And you guys, this is the reason why he's our manager. For that reason, Lamps is going to score an 8 out of 10. And you, man, that's going to be me for today. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you guys in a bit.